Hey guys, so this year I got a 2017 Polaris RZR 570 and I've really been enjoying it in the woods in the summer, but with our winters and the way they've been going lately, I decided to get some tracks as well. The reason I'm making this video today is because of the number of installation videos that are on YouTube and atvtracks.net, and the manual, highly technical and very scary. So I'm going to go through in this video some very simple, I don't want to say shortcuts, but some very simple ways of installing these tracks that kind of takes the mystery out of the instructions that are so complicated. So let me show you what I've learned. I'm not going to go over how to install the tracks on the machine because all you do is take your tires off and bolt the tracks on. You guys can figure that out for yourselves. But what I am going to go over, and there's plenty of videos on that too, is the part of the instructions that are most intimidating, which is aligning the rear. You have to align these so they ride properly. Well, it's very easy. This rod end is attached to this bracket, and then there's these two bolts here that secure the rod in the bracket. Well, you loosen these up so that this can move back and forth, and you can move this arm back and forth here. You have this bolt that's coming down from the A-arm, and you've got to get this rod end on this bolt at just the right angle. Well, what I did was I loosened this up, and I moved this rod end out, turned it sideways, and I waited until, I moved it out until I could see that it's going to line up perfectly so that the bolt goes down through the middle of it. I accounted for the angle a little bit and adjusted it till it was where I wanted it. And then I turned it this way, pulled the bracket down, and put the rod end on the bolt that comes out of the A-arm, and then torqued it to specifications. Tighten this up, tighten these bolts, bracket bolts back up, and you're in business. That's all you have to do to align the rear properly. The front system is a little bit more complicated because of the moving parts, and you have to align the steering so the toe is just right. But most importantly, the angle of attack has to be set on the front track system so they ride relatively flat on the ground, and the bubble level is showing relatively level. But they're not always accurate. So you want to do this on a hard, flat surface. And what I did was I put a board across the back top of the tires. And they tell you to do that in the manual as well. Because you want to measure between the floor and the board, and you want that measurement to be about 12 to 12 1/8 inches. That sets your angle of attack so that the track isn't pointed too far up or putting too much nose pressure into the ground. So I found mine was off quite a bit. So what I did was I put that board in there, and I took this piece of 2x4 and I lifted up the front of the track, just lifted it up and shoved that board under there until the track was sitting at a particular angle of attack that gave me the measurement that I wanted between the ground and that board. Now you can do that by adjusting this bracket here and turning it around and around and around. But it's so much easier just to get the angle of attack where you want it, prop it up with a piece of wood or something so that the track stays at the angle of attack that you want it to be. Then you do exactly what you did in the rear. You loosen up the bolts on this bracket, come down to the other end of the anti-rotation rod, you loosen this bolt, you take this rod end and you unscrew it until the hole in the rod end lines up so that the bolt coming down from your A-arm goes right through the middle of the hole in the bracket. Account for the angle once again. Grab this rod, you pull it down, line it up, slip it onto the bolt that comes off the A-arm, torque this up, torque these up, take your piece of wood out from under your track system, and double check the measurement from the floor up to the wheel, and it should have stayed. Mine did, so I was pretty happy with that. I just wanted to show you the two tricks I learned and how to do the most complicated portion of the install, and that's essentially aligning the angle of attack in the front and the rear. It's incredibly simple. As a matter of fact, the toe took me the same amount of time it did to align both the front and the rear angle of attack. So that's pretty much it. She's ready to go. I hope that helps save you guys some headaches.